Okay, Anthropage again, back with Reign of Dwarf. As we left off in the last video, I was approaching this point of interest, the Goblin Tower. I have a couple archers here. Now I could go inside, risk fighting the mobs and maybe getting some equipment, but there's always a chance that I could die, and I really want to focus on getting the materials I need to start my base. Because until you have your base, you can't really protect anything you have, and you might just end up wasting time. So I'm going to leave this alone for now. There will be plenty of other opportunities to pick up gear and other points of interest around the map. So if you recall from the last video, we first focused on getting cotton, so I can make a bedroll, which allows me to respawn. You can see it in my hotbar. And now I'm looking for animals, specifically deer, which are the source of animal fat. Animal fat is what you need to craft one of the workstations, which gates further progress, specifically for the digging tool, which I really want to get as early as possible, so I can put my base underground and have some additional security there. Reign of Dwarf is unique in the survival genre in that you can dig underground. I think the only game I could think of that allows you to do that is Worm Online, and perhaps there was one other which never really launched, but certainly in Rust it's not an option. Okay, so let's see. I see a moose off in the distance. We're near the coastline. This is a potential spot for building. Again, I mentioned in the last video I'm looking for a particular kind of spot. I want something near the coast, on a kind of a mountain or cliffside, hopefully a slope facing the water, and with luck some trees. The starting base, which will be above ground, would be good if it's concealed. So this little grove to my right is actually in a depression. It's a little lower than the surrounding hills, so if I were to build a one level base there, one floor, it wouldn't really be seen from a distance, and that's good early on before you upgrade the materials that your base is made from. Okay, so focusing again on sources of animal fat. There are some animals there, but they're too fast for me. I wouldn't be able to chase them down, and without ranged, it's not really viable. So we're going to forget about those and see if we can find something closer to my base plot. As mentioned, the game is somewhat PvP focused. There is PvE, of course, but generally with a short duration wipe cycle like this, one week or 1 month, you're just focusing on being able to have some good PvP fights. The game has a pretty decent progression of gear and weapons. You can go all the way up to firearms. There's a hilarious dwarven sniper rifle which I saw during testing, which is kind of cool. And then of course there's the guns that you actually mount, the giant Gatling gun, which you saw in the loading screen and which you will eventually see in game, is pretty cool as well. These are primarily used for attacking bases. You build a fob or a raid base near the enemy base, and you're able to do heavy damage that way. The little error there with the black screen, that's on my end, it's not the game. Apologies. So running the coastline, not really seeing anything that fits what I like. I'm very picky when it comes to base location. I didn't really need to be this picky. As mentioned, there is an update coming on the 21st, so a few days from now, and the servers will be wiped then. But I do like to, build according to the same plan each time. I think I heard an animal. So in this particular biome where I'm at now, you'll often find bears, and bears are pretty deadly. They have a significant aggro range, and with this stage of gear, they'll kill me. So you gotta not only keep your head on a swivel, but listen as well. You'll hear some of the mobs a good distance away. I'm pretty sure I heard a bear, but I didn't see it. At least I don't remember. So we're gonna just keep looking here. There's some good tree cover there, but the elevation isn't quite what I'm looking for. As mentioned, the game is PvP focused, and the way it works is you build your base, you have an influence chest You can add members to it, so you basically have a guild, and then you can work together to scout out and raid other people's bases. The bases can be quite elaborate. There's a lot of nice different shapes that you can employ to build your base, typical to what you see in most survival games, you know, Rust, Conan Exiles, etc. The familiar shapes. The bases, of course, need to be protected, so you have code locks. The bases involve both soft side and a hard side, so you want to be careful and make sure that you do that correctly. Like many of these games, there's a timer when you place a piece during which you can rotate it and destroy it easily, and after that, well, then you have to destroy it the hard way, which takes more time. Okay, so let's see. A couple towers. Diversity of biome. This is not bad. Now I just need to find some deer, the animal fat. I suppose if necessary, if I'm not able to find any, what I'll just do is go to a POI and get some ranged weapons, or make a temporary base and craft them myself, and just do that. The maps don't seem large, but they are actually quite big, given there's no fast travel and currently no mounts, although I believe mounts are planned. So you gotta walk everywhere, and there are aggressive creatures that you can stumble into, and if you're not careful, if you're walking through a forest, you won't see it in time, and it'll get on you, and you'll be dead, and you'll lose everything. So, and there are other players, right? There's a risk of being seen and attacked by other players. Generally speaking, players are hostile. On occasion, you might counter somebody who's friendly, but for the most part, that's what people are playing the game for, is PvP. So, what's that? I'm not sure what that is, but probably would kill me, so I'm going to stay away from that. The graphics are of a particular style, of course. I've seen people comment on them in both positive and negative ways. I find it pretty cool. I like it. Simple enough. Keep the frame rates down and just focus on the actual gameplay. The dungeon and the interiors are really nice, though. The lighting is really good. Speaking of dungeons, this is what the entrance to a dungeon looks like. You saw it further away previously, but this is how it looks up close. You kind of go to the edge and you can walk down inside. I'm not going to do that just yet. There are mobs and chests you can loot, and of course the boss. So if I'm not getting any luck with finding the deer, I will just go ahead and do that. I'm going to speed through this a little bit because I'm doing a lot of wandering around. Haven't encountered anybody yet, but I do know there are other players on the server. This server, it is only a week wipe rotation, but it had already been up for, I believe, 2 or 3 days. I haven't seen any bases yet, but I know they're out there. I have seen a couple players, sleeping and whatnot, logged out. But it doesn't take long to get geared up to a point where if I encountered them with my current gear set, I would just get demolished. So we're going to try and stay away from people and maintain a low profile as much as possible. There's another option. So that's a boar, I believe, and it does aggro you. So I could probably defeat that. And if there's more than one, then I could get my animal fat that way. Okay, so given that I have identified a source of animal fat, I'm gonna just commit to a spot. Let's speed up a little bit again. Let's see if I can find a place that's suitable to start building the base. I want a place to be able to store the things I harvest and to put down some workstations so I can improve my gear and have a safe respawn. So I got to commit to something. Okay, let's see. I think, if I remember correctly, there should be a coast here. You can actually hear it sometimes when you get close enough, so that's good. Uh-oh, what's that? Okay, there's another player. Did he notice me? I think he did. He didn't turn or draw his weapon. I don't know. Hard to tell. But I was kind of obvious. Plus the sound of me unsheathing my weapon was pretty loud. He would have definitely heard that. I saw that he was wearing armor, but he wasn't wearing a full set, and I don't think it was crafted. I think he probably looted that. So maybe he didn't want any trouble. Okay, yeah, he did see me. So interestingly, the game's chat interface uses your Steam little avatar icon there, so that's kind of cool. I believe it also uses your Steam account name, so you know that may be a good or bad thing depending on what you've chosen or what other people have chosen. Okay, so now people are starting to respond. The again, the risk of death, like the TTK is not, it's not very high. Like you could be dead in 3 or 4 hits depending on what your enemy's using. Plus the disparity between if you're melee only and somebody comes up after you with ranged, you would be in trouble. Yeah, so let's see. Now that I know there are people around, I don't want to build too close to this spot where I encountered him in case he has a base nearby. Although on the other side, if I want to get some PvP in, it might not be a bad idea. Let me move away a little bit. Get to my my preferred shoreline spot. Just checking with him to make sure the deer haven't been removed, because it's odd that I haven't seen any. Usually I would have. But the biome differences, they're not all the same, so it just could have been bad luck. Okay, here we go. Coastline, lots of resources. I see stone and metal and of course wood. There's some sulfur as well. Okay, there's some animals. Good. All right. This is nice and close to where my base would be. He's warning me about the bear. Yeah, I had a lot of run-ins with the bear during the test. In fact, I think I have a video up of where I used a bear to kill another player, or rather I used a player to draw aggro from a bear that was chasing me. That was kind of funny. Alright. This is looking good. Let's see if I can find something suitable. With the day-night cycle, you also have to be mindful of the time of day. You don't want to be stuck away from home if you're full of loot, or depending on where you are, if you have mobs nearby, you got to be careful where you walk because you'll get aggro and get killed. It's not as dark as it used to be, but it's still pretty dark. Okay, so that's a little too far away from the coast, not like a gnat. Maybe up this way. See if I can find something. The other thing about building your base, you want it to be concealed. If it's kind of out of the way, whereas you have to like struggle to get verticality and do like jumps and crouch jumps to get to where you're going, that also helps. You won't get just like random passerbys finding your base. Depending on what materials you made out of and what they have in terms of offense, if they have access to explosives, you want to be as low profile as possible. So this is an example of where you can get up here, but it's a bit of effort's required. So this is good. This is the kind of spot I like. My other consideration now is for the tunneling. You can't really see where you're digging underground, of course, so you want to pick a spot where you have enough mountain, enough vertical land space to do the digging in without going too deep. Okay, so actually I kind of like this. I could build a above ground base here in this little nook, and then do the tunneling in this rock face. The server's going to be resetting soon, so I'm not going to need a lot of space. You can actually accommodate all the crafting stations in a very small space. In fact, you can even pick them up and store them and then not have them always deployed. So let's go and start building the base. The base building is done with the book, not the hammer. The hammer's for modifying the existing elements. So radial wheel, typical of many of these types of games, and lots of different shapes to choose from. I have to consider here that if I'm going to be digging underground, I can't dig under my own base's foundation. So I don't want to block off the portion that I'm going to be tunneling in, which is where the meat of the mountain is. to give me enough room to build. So I do also want to be hidden, and this seems like it might be a good spot. A nice little 4x4 to start with, and that should give me enough to put the basic workstations down, to build the tools I need to dig underground, and then I can move everything there afterward. So we're going to go with the tried and true, triangle entrances. I always like to build a front and a back door. You never know when you're going to be being raided or whatnot and have to escape through another door. This is all like very familiar. If you've played Rust or any survival game that's been released in the last 20 years, you'll be able to grasp these mechanics pretty quickly. As you can see, there's a difference between the soft side and the hard side. Sometimes it won't be obvious to you based on the texture which is which. There's no identifier with wording, but for the most part, the side that appears to have like supports, like you can see there's these kind of cross beams, is the interior, and the side that is smoother from a texture perspective is the outside. As I said earlier, if you've just placed a piece, you can use the hammer to modify it. So that will be rotating it, spinning it on its axes so that the soft side and hard side switch spots. You can also upgrade it as well. All right, so let's see. That's looking good. Let me make sure that I'm able to actually get in. Okay, I don't even have to jump. That's great. Okay, so we're going to place our bedroll so that if, while I'm harvesting resources, I get killed, I will respawn here. The item can't be rotated from what I recall, so you kind of have to position yourself such that it's where you want it to be. You can rotate items once they're placed, certain items anyway. So you can kind of like change their facing. All right, so that's good. You can name the bedrolls as well. You can have, I believe, up to 5. I don't know if that's changed since testing, but then you can put them near mob camps, POIs, enemy bases. You can do that, and if you rename them, you'll know which is which. So I'm going to name this so that I know exactly where I'll be spawning should I die. Okay, good. So next objective will be to collect enough materials to finish and upgrade the base. In previous iterations of this, I've made the mistake of wanting to rush to my underground base and not upgrading my temporary above ground base, and then just someone randomly coming across it and destroying it, and then you lose everything. That's bad. So we'll go with a full, at least up to stone, which will mean that nobody can come along with basic melee weapons and bash it down. It's very important. Okay, so this turns out to be a decent spot. It has all of the needed resources. I see sulfur there on the left, stone on the right, plenty of wood. The nodes respawn on a decent cycle. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It might be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I'm not sure. But I will be able to harvest what I need without going too far. Very important. You can see on the compass my bedroll is showing up in the middle there. If you have more than one, it will show up on the map as well. Not on the map, but on the compass, so you can kind of orient yourself that way. You can use them as markers, almost like waypoints, also to mark positions of good locations like camps and POI. There is no weight or carry capacity limit. It is purely in terms of the space in your inventory. So as long as you have enough physical room for the slots in your inventory, you could carry as much as you need, which I'm fine with. You will need a lot of resources though. Your tools take damage as you use them, so you'll need to have resources on you to replace those. If you're farming the stuff that the tool's made of course it's not too much of an issue. Okay, so we're gonna end the video here, and the next one will feature more of the process of finishing and upgrading the base. And thanks as always for watching.